All right, what's going on, guys? Got another one for you today. This one's going to be pretty interesting. Something that I've definitely noticed over the sport of bass fishing in the last few years is you can make a living on a spinning pole. You can win big tournaments on a spinning pole. A lot of tournaments are getting first place, second place, top tens. You know, obviously live scoping is people are catching them live scoping using it, but you have people like John Cox that are getting checks about every tournament, winning a few tournaments a year, all on a spinning rod. And I think that's something to definitely keep in mind. Is you don't have to have a bait caster to win a tournament. You don't have to have a bait caster to go catch fish. A spinning rod, spinning reel is definitely a way to catch really big bass and lots of bass. So gonna kind of give you a little rundown of what I think about that in this video, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so catching bass on a spinning reel and a spinning rod has got to be one of my favorite things to do. Starting to fall in love with it over the past few years and definitely catching some really, really big bass on it. It's just something that I have a lot of confidence in. Every time I put a spinning rod in my hand, I feel like I'm going to get bit. And, you know, a lot of people think, oh, you got a spinning rod in your hand, so you're going to catch small ones. No. If you look at the tournament results and the way the tournaments have been over the past few years, a lot of tournaments are getting one fishing with a spinning rod. And I'm not even talking about just live scope. I'm talking about on the bank as well. You got people like John Cox, Keith Carson, people like that. A lot of other people are really using spinning rods and spinning reels to their advantage. You know, nowadays a lot more pressure. I feel like personally is on these lakes. There's just a lot more pressure going on. A lot more fish are getting fished for. You know, and the fish feel that. So picking up that kind of technique, picking up a spinning reel, spinning rod, using lighter line, you know, those kind of things definitely help you get more bites. And not just small ones. Like I said, big fish bite, that kind of stuff. I have caught so many big bass this past year on techniques like that. You know, shaky head, Nico rig, Demiki, live scoping. Wacky rig has got to be one of my favorite baits. You know, as you've seen on Lake Okeechobee, if you watch that video of mine, did a video there called All My Fish on a Wacky Rig. And that's just a technique. You know, a lot of people do throw it, but not as much people throw it. You know, I went to Okeechobee with the mindset of, you know, what's something a little different? You know, everybody throws a weightless Senko. Everybody throws a Texas rig Senko. Everybody throws a speed worm. Well, why not switch it up a little bit? Throw a Wacky Rig in places that people don't normally throw it. Get those extra few bites that, you know, those fish normally wouldn't bite, but they see a Wacky Rig and they normally don't see that, so they bite it. Lighter line, those kind of places, I think it matters. I really do think it matters when you're using. I was using 10-pound line, 10-pound braid, and everybody else in there is using, you know, probably much bigger line, flipping a Senko and a speed worm and all that stuff. But I feel like I just got an extra few bites because I was just going smaller technique, you know, lighter line, you know, little smaller bait. I was throwing a 4-inch Senko, not a 5. Got some bigger bites like that, and but you just look at all the tournaments nowadays. Most of the top 10 has a spinning rod in their hands, and a lot of checks are getting cashed doing that. Now, don't get me wrong, live scope is definitely one of the reasons of that, but people on the bank are catching them on just as good, just about, when the fish do get on the bank. I think that's something to definitely keep in mind. Like I said, you don't have to have bait casters to go catch fish. Spinning rods are definitely winning tournaments, you know, and just even out fun fishing. You can catch so many bass on spinning rods. And you know, the techniques I like to use for a spinning rod, spinning reels, you know, you got drop shot, you got wacky rig, you got little bitty swim baits, you got Ned rigs, wacky rig, the Mickey rig. You have all sorts of things that you can throw on a spinning reel. And I even throw small crankbaits on spinning rods sometimes. You know, if you have a small crankbait that's, you know, very, very hard to throw, a spinning rod, spinning reel is definitely a good way to make that bait go a lot farther instead of a bait caster. So just kind of keep that in mind. Spinning rod and spinning reels are definitely a way to catch big bass. So don't think whenever you pick that up in your hands that you're just not going to catch big ones. But you catch a lot of fish, and you do catch big ones doing it. And if you want to see that, you can just go watch all the latest tournaments. Most of them are getting one doing that. So definitely keep that in mind. I think that's definitely a technique to help you catch a few more bass, get a few more fish in the boat. So keep that in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you on the next